Or she gonna be here?
I haven't
told you otherwise.
reached from her or Stephanie or Neil. Nobody has said.
Neil told us last meeting he's in Mexico.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we did.
$37, $38. It's still in Mexico.
We are ready to get.
Oh.
All right. Let's call the meeting to order. Time is 5:04. And we'll start with a roll call.
Oh,
Ms. Hill. Oh, just went to Hill present.
Brady Croson, present.
Emily Cunningham present. Sorry, guys, I'm still pulling up the agenda.
I've got it on the board right here too.
Okay, public comment.
I don't think there were any public comments.
Okay.
No public comments received.
Celebrations and recognitions.
Great. I have it pulled up. All right. Hey, so I just want to note, if it feels like we're moving a little quick on things, we've got a couple of voting items that we need to get through, celebrations we want to get through before we have a couple of board members meet. So we want to do our celebrations and get the voting items. So we might move some things around in the agenda, and then we'll move to reports and things like that. So district celebration.
Oh, yes. So we had elementary teachers, well, we had district-wide teacher staff of the year, both elementary and secondary. So for elementary, we were super excited about our teachers and staff of the year. At the MacArthur campus, second through fourth grade campus, we had Alex Howard as our teacher of the year. And our staff member of the year was Tanya King. And then at the Llewellyn campus, we had Miss Silva as our teacher of the year and Miss Allen as our staff of the year, which, by the way, Miss Allen has been at Rapoport Academy longer than me. I started in 2003. And so she has been here, I believe, 24 years and is retiring this year.
Oh.
So
Oh.
really wonderful that she has been 3 years here and is retiring, and was just unanimously voted on as staff of the year. So we were super excited to celebrate all of them and their work for kiddos.
Thank you.
I have the privilege of honoring the secondary winners of these same awards. So on our secondary campus, our teachers, we have two campuses at secondary, just like elementary has. So we have the Quinn Middle School campus and our high school campus. Our Quinn Middle School Teacher of the Year was Miss Jocelyn Montio. Jocelyn is our fifth grade science teacher. And I can speak personally, as one of my children has her as a teacher, the creativity that she brings to the classroom on a regular basis and the passion and joy that she brings to the science classroom. Our Meyer High School Teacher of the Year is Fernanda Ainsworth. Ainsworth is our engineering teacher and oversees our engineering pathway for our career technical education students. One of our hardest working teachers. She has incredible skill at helping students develop projects and manage projects from start to finish. Our students train to become experts in the engineering field through her efforts and work. We're really proud of the two of those teachers. Because our staff really float a lot across our campus, we don't designate one as the middle school and one as the high school staff of the year. We just do two secondary staff members of the year. And here are the two. Mr. Coach Juan Andrade, who is one of our teaching assistants, but also our head varsity soccer coach for boys. He's also been serving as a long-term sub in our chemistry classroom this year. He clearly is doing a lot, wearing a lot of hats in his first year on our campus, and well deserving of the staff member of the year. And then Miss Jessica Mata, who's the administrative assistant for our high school campus. Ms. Mata is the face of everything that happens and everybody who walks through the door. I mean, it's such an incredible gift and joy to our campus. So we celebrate all these four members of our secondary team. Next up, we have a celebration involving our soccer program. Our middle school girls soccer team, which was a combo team of 7th and 8th grade girls, won district this year. their inaugural season. Our high school or our soccer teams play schools of all different sizes because there's not enough 2A soccer teams in the area. So they play upwards of 4A size schools with hundreds more students than we have. And the girls team defeated those teams. They were only scored on twice the entire season in one district. We're really, really proud of them. The efforts that they made alongside the girls with Coach Bach. Amy Bach is one of our elementary teachers who's helping coach on the secondary level, and Coach Morris, their assistant. The girls and these two coaches. Just hot off the presses yesterday, we had some more state competition and some more state victories. We had a team of 4 students. One of them, Mrs. Whitlark's daughter, Hannah. One of them, Dr. Cunningham's son, Marco, along with Kaven Kelly and Roy Carney. These 4 competed in the UI academic state meet yesterday in science, and they won 2nd place in the state of Texas. Marco walked away with 2 first place finishes in science, including biology. That brings Marco, I think, to his 5th state title this school year. Marco won state cross country, was the first place runner. He was the first place state champion in the 1600 meter and the 3200 meter, and then as well as 2 medals at the UIL science competition. It's a pretty incredible feat. It throws it all to. I want to welcome one of our incredible high school students. Maria has worked so hard over the course of her lifetime, but in the last little while, she has published the book that you have before you. Signed copies. I'm holding my very own signed copy from this author. We're so proud of Maria. She's a 10th grader here in the kids. You share just briefly, I'm putting you on the spot, but just tell us a moment about what you did and what you've accomplished and what it took.
So I started writing actually I've been writing for a long time, but I started writing poetry in 7th grade when we were learning about poetry because it was fun. And my grandparents and my aunt didn't find out until later on in 8th grade when I had written over 50 different types of poems already. And my Chris was like, "You have this gift." And so she invited me to read at her different events. I created poems for any type of event she had, and in my school too. And so then a lot of people started coming up to my aunt and asking, when is she gonna make her book? When is she gonna make her book? And I'm like, angry? Yeah. Later on, my friends helped me all it officially got published this year in my birthday month.
Yay!
Over family members, Chris Houston and Helen Bell, both incredible champions of hers and of ours. So we're really proud of her. Please join me in congratulating her. I'm gonna let Dr. Newman celebrate these last couple of celebrations.
So we roll over board members. It depends on the year and the years of service, but we have 2 members who are officially rolling over. Now, Chris can't leave us till we have his replacement. But I do have some recognition for Mr. Nathan. Thank you for being our faculty friend.
Yeah.
I will make sure that gets over to her. So thank you so much for you guys for serving. We have 2 members that are rolling, hopefully not off, but rolling into new terms of service. So both Grady and Neil will roll over this summer and have the opportunity to re-up. And I think they've both said that they would be willing to stay on the board and continue to serve. So they don't get a lovely plaque yet. Thankfully, we'll have to wait on this. But Chris, thank you for all of your leadership and guidance over the last 2 years.
I was told they
Yeah.
You're clapping about that.
Yeah.
Big photo.
Come up there. Come on, board members. Up there. Let me get.
Everybody,
I might not even see it.
1, 2, 3.
Awkward.
I still got you, Dustin Moore. 1, 2, 3.
Oh.
Hey, before we resume, Mary was gonna read one poem from her poem to the board this week.
Oh, good. Well, bonus.
Right here.
Oh, thank you.
Right here. Yeah, we are. We're ready.
The poem I'm reading is called Unity, and there's a little brief introduction about what it's about. Unity is needed now more than ever in today's world. This poem encourages everyone to work to find ways to unify us as a human race and to value our diversity. Empathy, love, and connection will unify us despite our differences. I use poetry to communicate the importance of these values and ideals. In sharing my poetry, I gain a platform to express myself and educate people on things that matter to me. And that will make the world a better and more unified place for everyone. In the tapestry of humanity, we find our unity, threads of different colors weaving a beautiful community. Each unique voice, a verse in the grand symphony, celebrating our oneness, creating harmony. From every corner of the earth, our words take flight, a chorus of hope, dispelling the darkness of night. In the language of poetry, we find common ground, expressing love, empathy, and the beauty that surrounds. Let our pens be the bridges that connect our hearts afar, breaking down barriers like a guided shooting star. Through stanzas and sonnets, we embrace diversity, for in our differences lies our greatest opportunity. May our verses be a lighthouse shining bright and clear, guiding lost souls, dissipating doubt and fear. With every line we write, let love be our guide. For in this shared world journey, our spirits are tied. So let us raise our voices in a poetic toast, celebrating our differences, the things we value most. For in the realm of poetry, we are all one family, united in our words, celebrating our beautiful diversity.
Yeah.
Page 43. Okay, good. Yes. Oh, that's good.
Thank you.
We have our first thank you note from Rapoport students who were awarded the scholarship. I'll be dropping this on each board meeting as they come in. Our
Oh, okay.
third, yeah, the thank you notes. So those will come around.
We will move forward to the consent agenda items. Does anybody have a motion or wants to pull any of these expenditure requests?
And I provided narrative for you guys for each of the items.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes. So, because, I'll just tell you, I've got Marco graduating this week. I want to jump over and catch one thing. I'll be back. It'll be max 30 minutes. You won't even know I'm gone. Sorry. But
You
because
should
of
be there
that,
for your son's property.
Yeah.
for that, item 4.3, we're going to bump up the next item on the agenda for the sake of that, because I know that Ms. Hill needs to leave too.
So we're gonna do 4.3, and then we're actually gonna do 3.5, and then we'll continue back on the agenda. So 4.3, so that's, I do need a vote potentially on this one or not for Region 12 TSLs, Year 3, and strategic planning. So in your drive, there were 2 documents from Region 12. One of them was proposed strategic planning, and one of them was Year 3 proposal. The Year 3 proposal is something I definitely want to move forward on now. So the work that we've done the last 2 years, the TSL work, where we did the academic strategic plan and the tracking and the look-see documents and all the reports to the board, they have a Year 3 option that is partially funded by 2 grants. You can see that here on the board. partially funded by 2 grants and then some contracted services. Not all of the work can be funded by the grants because they don't specifically align to the 2 grants that are available. So what Region 12 has put together is through the TSL grant, which TEA is allowing a small year 3 support. Then through the Strong Foundations grant, so that's the work that we're doing with them through the academics at elementary. It's going to cover a lot of the data tracking tools on that one. And then a little bit more, about 5,000 more in contracted services. We'll have Region 12 continue on these 3 initiatives at the top. You know, we had those 6 initiatives. These 3 are what's going to be guided forward. So that is the Strong Foundations implementation. So that's ELAR or reading curriculum at the elementary. Then it's the aligned expectations for engaged classrooms. So that's the work that Jennifer's been leading across the district. So that's continuing that. Again, a lot of that does include the data monitoring systems that they're going to help us build. And then the third one is the Pathway to Champion, the P2C overhaul. So that's the professional development kind of overhaul across the district. So they would support then the establishing of data tracking tools, monitoring outcomes. It's really Tyler's baby, that realignment is. And so they would then support him in his essentially year 1 of that initiative moving forward. So this one I'm really passionate about. Again, 2 parts of it are covered by the grant. It's $4,900 that wouldn't be covered by the grant, but I think it is critical to our work as we're moving forward. Yes.
I will agree it is critical and necessary, but I wanted to see, is it being paid for, like one of the other items that was in the board that mentioned using, I don't want to call it excess funds, it's funds that hasn't been used because.
This would be paid for by
out of
swept
that-
funds or unallocated funds or anything else. So we're not going to like cut a position to pay for this one, but when we prioritize funds that are available following all the solutions, this would be one of the things that we would look at. Now, most of this is for next year's contract.
Okay.
And so we know that we're going to have funds either from the state or we know we're going to have funds from unfilled, like salary savings or things like that. So, yeah.
I'll make a motion that we approve the year 3 proposal with Region 12.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay. Now, the second part of that one is also in here. This is not one that I necessarily need you to vote on tonight, but I need you to think about it. It is time to do our strategic plan. Again, our big one. We already did the academic strategic plan. So when you look at the academic strategic plan, it's really 3 legs of a 6-legged stool. There are 6 legs underneath the effective district framework that TEA is providing, kind of really for schools across Texas to use as a framework for how you improve student outcomes, staff outcomes, and all of your different metrics. So we already have a couple of those legs covered with that academic strategic plan, and that continues on for 3 more years. So I worked with Region 12. They did our previous strategic plan. We don't have to use them, but we can. So that's what this document is. This would be their suggestion on how to move forward with required board training, team building, and strategic planning kind of all put into one. So what I would like for you guys to do is really spend some time looking at this and thinking about this, sending back questions so that I can either craft or recraft for the June meeting approval. Okay, so not looking for approval today. What I really would like to know is, do you want to do combination of board training and strategic planning all together so that we have a new strategic plan come spring next year when we start budgeting for the year after that? Do you want to do it at the same board meetings? This is lined up with board meetings. We'd essentially have kind of hour-long board meetings and then 2-hour strategic planning. So we bring other committee members in for the strategic planning part as we move forward. It's all outlined in here as you look through this. So again, I don't think we're ready for that approval at this point. I think the board needs to think about how they would like to move forward between now and next spring, because our strategic plan is done. The big plan is done for spring. You need to think about how you want to move forward. This, for the whole thing, including board training, all the strategic planning work, meetings, creating the document, presenting it back, doing focus groups. This is all in that 14A.
That's already in the budget.
This is not in the budget. Nope.
But we're going to have to pay for that board training one way or the other.
No matter what, we're going to pay for board training, and no matter what, either we're going to piece together a new strategic plan, or we're going to have to pay somebody to put a strategic plan together. And that was just that with about $9,000, I think, last time we did it. So this is their proposal. Again, I pushed them to come up with something that was more overlapped and not independent, where we have Saturdays we have to come through and we have 3 meetings every month and we have all that. I'm like, I pushed them to kind of try to be as succinct as possible, but yet get the focus groups we need for a quality strategic plan. Do the board training we need in order to make sure all board members are ready to go, not only for compliance, but also for knowledge base. So that's what you need to do. Yes.
Once we complete this outside of our regular board training each year, is this coming again? Or once we have everything implemented, it just follows for the time period until it's time to redo the strategic plan?
So the board training has annual requirements. This process would cover all of the training requirements we would have for the next 12 months. So anything that we would have to, the next 6 hours that we would have to re-up for next year, because we have to redo that every year, it would cover all of that. New members would have a little bit of extra training, but other than that, if we move through this, all board training is covered and all the strategic planning process is covered. And then at the end of it, which would be February, the new strategic plan would be provided, and that would last the next 3 years. So 26, 27, 28, which is when the academic plan ends. And then you do a whole new everything plan.
That's what I'm asking. Is there an annual cost?
This is not an annual cost. This is mostly strategic planning with some board training.
Okay.
So the next year, right. A 1 year. The next year would be board training for 3 years. And then we would do whole strategic plan again.
Okay. And is this
I finally
in the
get your
budget?
question. No. This is a brand new ask. You don't
Another
have any itemized budget for next year. This is next year's money,
Okay. So
not swept money, not summer money.
Okay.
That's why I want you to think about the process and how you guys want to do strategic planning and board training. That's really what this is about. I was very heavy-handed in crafting it, so I really like the outline. I think the only way it works is if the board stays really committed to concise board meetings. Meaning we answer all the questions ahead of time. There's some things I put on the board agendas that we probably don't necessarily have to put on board agendas that we could pull off and just really be committed to really this next, not quite a full year, in order to keep the big meat of the meeting at the meeting and then have time at each meeting. I like the idea of only having this one kind of deep meeting a month where we bring in other people and talk about things after the board meeting instead of having a board meeting every month and a committee meeting and a steering meeting and a strategic planning meeting, which ended up with 3 to 5 a month. So we pushed all that into here. I also like the idea of overlapping board training and strategic planning at the same time, because I'm not using as much of your time and we can kind of sprinkle in the training and the planning all together. I definitely am passionate about having somebody come in and help us to make sure by the end of next year that you have an updated strategic plan, because so much of our current strategic plan is either done or irrelevant based on where we are with STAR and accountability and whatever else, or just needs to be updated. So if not them, we could look for other vendors. They won't know as much about education or Rapoport. So
I like Region 12 because that is their focus and they've already done so much work here. I'd rather not see them start over.
they know some as
Yeah,
well.
and that seems a reasonable rate, considering all the work they're gonna have to do.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
really
yeah,
look through that plan, like look through the plan that's on there. But what I would just ask is look through the plan and email me back and forth all of your questions or anything so that by June, we would approve it. Because if you look, the first meeting that they would come and do training is in July. So I need to contract them no later than the June meeting.
But this money, this sum, if I understand correctly, is right now is not budgeted in any way, shape, or form, correct?
That is correct.
And so,
We do have some like board training money in there, so it's not the entirety of the 15.
so we would pull a bulk out of it, would have to be either unallocated funds
Mhm.
or funds we pull from something else.
Or the money that comes from the state that we know
Yeah.
we're gonna be giving inevitably, it's just not gonna be a ton of money.
So
So
you're
instead of
fairly
doing-
confident we can cover that?
I'm 100% confident. we can cover that.
Good.
Oh, I thought you said this would be next year's money.
He's asking next year.
I'm asking
Oh,
about
okay.
that.
Yeah, do I have any concerns? When you get, so you'll get your itemized budget in June. When you get your itemized budget in June, I'm going to allocate somewhere around this amount of money.
Yeah, that's
Because
good, okay.
whether it's through Region 12 or some other service, we're gonna need board training and you're gonna need strategic planning support. So just look through this and be ready either to get me to fix it, so you like it, or another vendor before June, or that you feel comfortable in June.
Are we also voting on that in June to say we want this vendor? I mean, Region 12 or investigate someone else?
I would like for you to tell me before we get there, yeah. Individually, before we get there, if you're like, I don't want to go this direction, then I'll try to find some other vendors that I feel comfortable with working with the district. So that we have that comparison, but most of the other people have been in a pretty similar cost structure. So, okay.
Okay. Let's move to item 3.5, you said?
Yeah, 3.5. So an athletics program update. Brian. Come right on up here where you're near the camera, so the camera can see you. Camera's right over there. All right.
How's everybody doing today?
Good. Brian Former, athletic director.
I'm Brian Foreman, the athletic director. So, I mean, we had a heck of a year this year. We started a soccer program, had the inaugural season this year. That season ended with our middle school girls being the undefeated district champions. So we're really proud of that, and we're proud of the work that our coaches and student athletes put in for that. Cross country, we had cross country. We are back-to-back district champions on the boys side, back-to-back state qualifiers. With that team ended the season 8th place in the state, and Marco Cunningham ended that season as the 2A state champion. Then we moved on to basketball season, where our basketball team went all the way and brought home the first state title in school history, bringing many accolades along the way. Our basketball coach winning Central Texas Coach of the Year. We had a bunch of players winning Central Texas Players of the Year. So, I mean, it's just been a great year. Then we ended the year with track and field season with Aiden Ramirez and Marco Cunningham representing us at the state championship. Aiden finished 6th place in the 1600 this year, and Marco Cunningham came home with 2 more gold medals in the 1600 and 3200 meter. So, I mean, like I said, we've had a heck of a year. Been 4 championships, and it's been super exciting, and I think we're all excited to put in more work and keep it playing. Right now, we are serving about 130 students, 6th, 7th grade through 12th grade. I mean, that's up from about around 90 last year. I mean, it's a big part of the soccer program, is a big chunk of that. So, I mean, we've also seen we got the gym coming online soon, so that's pretty exciting. We got strength and conditioning starting up in June, so we're really excited. We're really excited to get back to work. Like everything is kind of quiet down a little bit. We've taken a little bit of break, and I think all the coaches are ready to get started. So we're going to work on getting weight room up and running for June. We're going to do strength and conditioning all June, and then hopefully we'll have a grand opening and then get sports specific stuff going, basketball and volleyball in July. Along with getting our student athletes better, we got our coaches are attending conferences this summer. We want to continue to develop our coaches just as much as we develop our student athletes. So every coach either has attended a conference or clinic for this sport or will be in July. So, I mean, across the board, we're just grateful for everything that has come our way. We had a lot of success this year, and we're just trying to keep it going. So, do you guys have any questions?
I don't know, can I ask about the fundraiser for the rings? Did they get it? Is everything done? Or is that
Not
separate-
completed yet.
separate
We're still
subject?
going. It's not completed.
Yeah, we have moved forward on purchase of that.
Okay.
And they are still continuing to press for sponsors. Okay. But the rings have been sized and ordered.
Wow.
Yes.
So the Woodbridge ceremony, I think we're gonna plan to do it on the first home game.
All right. Good.
So the first home game at half court.
Nice. Okay.
You got to do something fun today? With the seniors?
You walked into. Oh, We got to walk the seniors through the gym today. Oh yeah, that was a good time.
They got
They got
on the
some-
court.
Sounds like you really enjoyed it.
Nice.
Yeah, we got our first hanging from the goal too.
Oh, good.
Jordan Sewell got it there for me. He hung from the goal.
I just want to thank you for
Yeah.
your leadership and
Yeah,
everything
absolutely.
you've done to elevate the athletics program.
Yep.
But before I go, I want to give you all a small token of appreciation. It's been a long year. We have won a lot of medals, but it takes everybody. It's not just the coaches, it's not just student athletes, it's the teachers, it's the administration, and it's also the board. So I want to say thank you to all of you, and let's keep it going.
Yeah.
Good. Oh, wow, awesome. Thank you.
My second. I know I'm only 3 behind somebody. In the
I ran.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Mark.
Man. Oh, exciting. Yeah. Wow, thank you.
Gold medal.
Yes, exactly. Oh, yeah. That. Oh, wow. Sweet.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you. Thank you. I know, yeah. I mean,
Okay, faculty representative.
Oh,
You have anything?
I don't really, well, I'm gonna wait. I know some of you need to go. I have a presentation that River's gonna do to show us kind of the progression, not yet for Rivers. But
Thank you.
do you want to do it now or do
Yeah,
you have
let's go
time?
over the history one.
Okay, we got a little presentation about where we're at in the process. We have had a little bit of a snafu, I'll tell you up front. We sent our prototypes off to the group. They did not come back satisfactorily. So we are talking to another group. He's going to meet with them tomorrow about part of the wall that's going to be, as you walk into the facility, that wall right in front of you, the 18 by 0.75 by 10 foot is going to be sort of athletics. And then the rest of it is the history of Rapoport River, the history wall of this community, rather. And River's going to talk to you a little bit more. Are you ready, River?
yeah.
The wall's about 90 by 10 feet. We had a lot of things to cover. This is kind of the first step we made out, kind of the basic view of where we wanted the photos to be. All of our photos were sourced by students in the class. They're separated into 4 groups for each of the sections. Can we go to the next slide?
Yes.
Put your menu on the.
Okay. Control, Alt.
There we go. Oh,
First, kind of broke down and give a little bit more time on how this is. Yeah, so you have like a list of things in the front that would be significant to the theme, and then you have a background for faded.
Can you talk on some of those buildings? Or are they more of just what was found from the community over the years?
Yeah, I can go as we did.
Oh, okay.
This building right here was a church from Mexico. Units for structure. First section. Here. This
And these images, some of them are just holding images for right now.
Oh, I follow. Okay.
similar concept.
I especially like extra words that are super great.
Yeah.
Yes.
Still bringing more pictures. We're just getting the basic concept.
Oh,
So that's, I've never seen Paul Quinn.
That's him.
Wow,
William
okay.
Paul Quinn.
Oh, okay, cool. Nice.
It was only five.
Well, and what we're trying to show you is where we're at in the process. We went through a lot of derivations with this, but what we're going to try to do is bring images forward that are prominent in the community. That church was the first church that was built on this side of the Brazos as the community came from into East Waco. We wanted to try to present a history wall or a timeline because this is going to be a community building that showed the growth of not only Rapoport Academy, but of Elm Avenue, then the rise of Paul Quinn College, the rise of Rapoport Academy and Rapoport today. The Rapoport today we have plenty of pictures for it. It's the easiest to develop. And this is not by any means finished. We're still working on an idea of bringing images forward and concepts forward. But you can kind of see where we're going.
Oh.
Bigger, bolder images.
I love it.
We did put a lot of text. We debated the amount of text we were going to put on it, but we thought if it is a history wall and it's supposed to tell the story and it's supposed to have an educational value to it, that we do need to put about what we're talking about in each of these phases and how we got to where we get now. And she had a ton of ideas. She's got a ton more, and we're working on get it developed. And Ms. Pate, I'm going to send you some that I told you. I'm going to send you some of the writing so you can kind of look over it and see what you think, because you were more knowledgeable, and Ms. Hill, probably you as well, because y'all are more knowledgeable. I just want people to read over and make sure we're doing it, especially with the history part. I will say that everything that we have sourced are already documented sources. So like when we get to Rise of Rapoport Academy, we brought in Dr. Grayson and had a sit down interview. And so a lot of the stuff's taken is firsthand. We interviewed a professor that used to work here that taught art. So a lot of the stuff we have is actually firsthand stuff, but we want to show people what this area was and what it can be. And so that's why we're focused on this kind of.
Is it, can I email you another contact that would be a great source as well for Paul Quinn? Or do you already have it?
Yeah, we've reached out to the college. We have interviews
Okay.
from the people that are still there. We've interviewed 2 professors. We've gotten 4 or 5 articles that covered it all the way back. We have pictures all the way back from 1910 on there where it started. And we're still working with the pictures. Like some of the pictures, we're going to rotate back out if we find a better picture. And we're really not excited about using colored pictures in a lot of sections because they don't blend with the black and white. So we're probably going to remove the colored sections and grayscale them back more. But that's kind of the direction we're going. We're told it's big, it's educational, it pops, it sings, it dances, it doesn't. No,
It gets your attention down the hall, right?
Yeah.
You don't want people to
Just
ignore
stand
what's
there.
happening down the hall.
Yeah.
And on this, it's hard to tell because this is a very limited space to say, well, that font is super small. And we do have to work with font size. We've already talked about it. And she and I and a couple of others will come up during the next week and work on it after. We're going to try to get it knocked out. That's where we're standing because the wall is 90 feet literally by 10 feet tall. So when you imagine it up there, it's going to be fairly sizable. And I think it's going to look really good. And she's worked diligently. The class, I bet the class, we spent literally days and days and days and days and weeks. I've made them make calls. They talked to everybody from the president of Paul Quinn College, to the professors. We did have a guy that was supposed to come from the city because what we want to do is a future park where we showed the vision of East Elm Avenue. We set up 2 appointments and unfortunately he canceled them both. So we kind of moved past that and are working our way around that. But it has made progress and quite a bit of progress. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, River. Good job.
Yes, thank you.
We don't need a vote for that as well.
I think we both have, oh, you get it. Yeah.
Good. Good. Now we're on it. Okay. Good. That thing's coming up.
Hi, thank you.
Or my Madeline.
Where? Wearing it.
As I told you all, our elementary campus, we started reviewing, we pulled a committee together to review the religious text from the Bluebonnet material that we've adopted for next year. And our committee walked through the process of
If that's not right.
walk through the process of reviewing the materials so that we could find the religious text that's in here and address that. Ms. Miller is here. She's one of our committee members. We had 9 staff members that raised their hand and said, I totally want to be a part of this. And when I asked for volunteers, so I was very, very thankful for that. We came together, we calibrated what we were looking for. So what are we looking for? Why are we reviewing this? What tasks needed them to do? So these 9 staff members broke into teams to review the different grade levels because we have kinder through 4th grade. Okay, and so they split apart, and then we all talked about what are we looking for, because there is religious text. If you start thinking about the Puritans, right? You're like, how do you talk about the Puritans without talking about religious stuff? You can't, right? That's historical knowledge. That's not what we're really talking about here. What we're talking about is the story about Esther right next to MLK when we're talking about heroes. Okay, someone may think that Esther is a hero, but that it's not in the context of what we're talking about in a situation for kids. Is that what we're addressing? Probably not. That's a religious text that we would say we don't need to address that. Okay, we can just address the historical stuff, not the extra stuff. Okay, so as a committee, we all talked and we said, first off, mark everything you find that's religious. And then we're going to go back and we're going to say, what of that is historical knowledge, religious, and what of that is not historical knowledge? And as we said as a group, it's probably Sunday school knowledge, right? And we need to find the difference between those things. Right?
Religious is any religion.
Any religion, and correct. So anyway, that's what the committee talked about at the beginning, and then those 9 members really dug through material for months. Okay. They dug through all the material, they flagged stuff for us, and then they gave suggestions for revision. We asked them to kind of give us a 4-type review. If they saw stuff that they would say, you know what, it's here, I get it, but that's historical knowledge, it's fine to leave it. Okay, probably any curriculum you pick up is going to have a lesson like that, and that's fine. A yellow or an orange was like, you know what, this would be an okay lesson with a couple of revisions. Okay, there's a couple of statements, or we need a new type of, if you just bring in an additional mentor text, that would fix this problem, things like that. Or there was just, this is inappropriate, this feels like a Sunday school lesson, shouldn't be in here, right? So the 9 of them coded the different lessons in all the grade levels that were flagged. Now we had to take the fact that all 9 of them had different opinions about stuff. Some people say remove that, and someone else is like, I'm okay with that. Now, on the whole, if people said remove it, most people said remove it. If they said to leave it, most people said to leave it. Okay? And then, you know, in the middle, there might have been like, I'm fine with that. Well, I think if you just revised a little bit, that kind of thing. So we had to pull through all 9 of their stuff to look at that. Now, this was a document that TEA actually provided us. This is kinder, it goes through 5th grade, but we're only doing 4th grade. These are all of the units that they have from kinder to 4th grade, okay? Light gray is what TEA said by their own admission, that they did the least number of revisions to with the Bluebonnet update, okay? The middle blue color was where they did some more revisions, again, based on their own. And the dark blue was where they said we made the most revisions and additions. So what we told the committee was, listen, start with dark blue, then go to the middle blue, likely light blue, because we're talking about 5 senses in the human body and animal classification, that kind of stuff. You're like, probably not gonna be anything in there, right? So the red circles are anywhere that after all of the committee did their work, that we went back and said, we gotta make some changes. So anywhere that we have a red circle is stuff that we reviewed. And some of those things are places where we made some changes, okay? Here's a brief overview. Actually, can you go back up one, or maybe it's the next page?
Not that one.
Stay right there, actually, and then we'll go back to the next one, other one up here. So there was 824 lessons between kinder to 4th grade. That's the whole of the curriculum, 824 lessons. 55 lessons were flagged by the committee.
As religious of some sort.
Of some sort, right? That they flagged that something about this needs to be reviewed. That's 7% of the curriculum. When we looked through it took everyone's opinions, right? Because everyone on the committee had different opinions about what to do. We removed 10 lessons, and I'll show you guys what those are. That's right around 1% of the curriculum. We revised 8 lessons, and I'll show you how we revised them, again, about 1% of the curriculum. And we left alone about 37 lessons, about 5% of the curriculum, okay? And again, some of those things we would say, okay, you flagged it, that's great, but still historical knowledge, we can leave that in. All right, now go back up. This is a breakdown of those things. So what you can see is where those 55 lessons came from in the grade levels, what we left alone, what we removed, right? So 3 in kinder, 3 in 3rd grade, 1, 2, 1, and then what we revised. All right, so you can just kind of see the breakdown of where we're at with those things. Okay. Now, I want to give you guys an example, and I put all of the grade levels in here just so you can see, but here's a unit, Colonial and Native Americans. We said these things, and most people on the committees agreed with these things are fine, all right? As far as historical knowledge, most curriculums that you would pick up would have lessons like these in them. What we did is we did say, let's add read alouds for the Pueblo Nation and the Wampanoag, that would help to balance the conversation that's happening in these lessons, okay? Now, serving our neighbors. This was a place where there was 2 lessons. One was on helping our neighbors, but it pulled in the golden rule, where there was biblical text that was in it. And then there was the Good Samaritan lesson that had biblical text in it, that we felt like we can talk about serving our neighbors. And this is a whole unit, and these are just 2 lessons. There's like 10 or 12 other lessons in there about serving our neighbors. And we felt, as a committee, as a group, we felt like these 2 should go. Okay, the rest of the lessons in that unit were fine and dealt with serving our neighbors without going into religious text. All right, kings and queens. This was actually a place where we did leave one that was a religious text. What was nice about this, and I wish we would find elsewhere, it was very balanced because there was 4 lessons in a row from 4 different cultures, from 4 different religions. Okay, that's great. Okay, we can deal with stuff like that, right? And then these ones down here, we left alone. We reviewed them, left them alone. Exploring art, there was a whole unit on art, and one of the lessons was on creation and brought in biblical text. So we felt like that lesson. Okay. So that's just an example, and I can kind of continue to go through. We removed one in 1st grade on sharing stories that went into the prodigal son. Again, as our committee talked through it, the feeling was this feels like a Sunday school lesson, right? These 2 lessons didn't have a problem, but there was a couple of religious text statements in the teacher's edition that we thought, gosh, if you just take that statement out, the lesson itself is fine. Okay. Some of these things, again, early independence stuff of America, there's things where you would say that's in most history books that you would find, or in most history textbooks, okay? Okay, keep going. Anyone stop me at any
I have a
point?
question.
Yes.
On the, 2 image cards that you cut out in American Football.
Yeah, one of them was, of a Bible, and it was, I don't remember whose it was, some historical person, and it was their Bible, and it was just kind of like, I mean, that's nice, but I don't know that, yeah, we need to see. It was a Bible, and I don't know that I can remember right now.
I was curious.
Know for a fact that that was not one of these images, but I can't remember what the second one was.
Well, I know I saw it was Civil War. More like the problem that down there.
I know again, one of them was, do you remember? You don't.
Well, and I would say honestly, this was a religious review, not political sensitivity or awareness or whitewashing the curriculum, right? Anything like that.
That came up as a question, and what I did say to that question that was brought up on cultural sensitivity and a curriculum was I said that the scope of this work that we're doing is on religious texts. And so I wanted to make sure that we as a committee stayed focused on that because we're not curriculum writers either. And so if we were to try to go through a curriculum and fix the cultural sensitivity of it, it's just beyond the scope of our work in this. But it was addressed and asked as a question, which I thought was a valid question.
Very substantial. And there are no dings, whatever word you want to use. If you choose to adopt the curriculum, how is best for your district, like TEA doesn't come in and say.
So here's what's great. If you go back up to the beginning, Alexa. If you look at, no, keep going all the way to the top. Well, actually, right here.
This one.
This one right here. This shows you the number of lessons that we have in every single grade level. Well, here's the thing. We only have 168 days of school. And not every one of those days, I mean, we got field days and we got field trips and we got, there's no way that we get through the entire curriculum.
Okay.
So we are already gonna have to cut lessons.
Okay.
Based on it. So here's the great thing, like, there's no way we could teach 169 days of curriculum with 168 days of school and all of that stuff.
Okay.
So we're like, we gotta cut out 10 or 12 days.
Gotcha.
So TEA, I mean, we gotta do it because we gotta do it regardless, you know, so no.
So we're gonna have to cut more than 8 days anyway, and we only had to cut 2 lessons.
Right.
Because of religious reference.
So honestly, we're gonna have to cut more, even besides that.
Okay.
And then second grade, we had these two, these were the ones that I was addressing here at the end. So fighting for a cause. And it was, again, it's like MLK and Jackie Robinson and then Esther. And it just felt out of place. Like we're talking about contemporary historical figures in America. And now we're talking about a biblical figure, right? Like, so removing both of those and everything else in there. And there was a couple of places where I wrote edit family letter. There's a family letter that goes home each month or before each unit that's like, hey, our kids are going to be learning this. And there's a couple of statements that we're going to have to strike out because the kids are not looking at that anymore. So third grade, there were several in here under ancient Rome. There was 2 lessons here that we felt like, again, went past the historical knowledge. And then one under colonial America that was about giving thanks. And it just, again, was a religious giving thanks. And so both needed to have edited family letters. And then we also, a tiny bit, talked about adding some read alouds here that balance a little bit of what the kids are hearing to help balance their knowledge base. And that one actually would go with the colonial America part. Sorry, not the first one.
And this basically is removing anything that try to teach and or sway a student to one religion or another. Got it.
Any one event or another. And to ensure that what we're creating here at Rapoport Academy is a place for every child, regardless of their family or their own background, belief, religious preferences, or anything else, they all feel safe and they all see this as a place where they belong. And so a balanced view is fine, because in that balance, you see your representation, your family, your culture, your background. It doesn't have to be just one exclusion of anything. A balanced offering is great.
Right. That's like what I was saying, that earlier grade level, there was 4 lessons in a row, 4 cultures, 4 religions.
Yep.
That kind of thing is balanced, yeah, and welcome. So
And it's valuable here, right? Because we don't want people just to see one view of any given kind of view. We want them to see a worldview so they can appreciate the value of diversity.
in 4th grade, we did talk about adding some read alouds because there was one lesson that we felt like also was not appropriate, but by removing this lesson, it also could remove some historical knowledge about the Crusades for students. So in this process, Ms. Durrell's our librarian for elementary. She already looked up some books for us that we could purchase that would help give that rounded knowledge for kiddos. Now, I told the committee and I updated them last week, but when we went through all of this, Ms. T and I did pretty extensive work on also reviewing all the assessments that went along with these lessons to make sure that these lessons that we removed we did not find questions about these lessons in the assessment files that we reviewed, and what we found out last week was that now the assessment files have been updated. Of course, not like any of us do pre-work to get ready for next year. So we will still have some work to do in order to make sure that we have, that everything that we are using next year will be helpful, and that if there's questions on any of these lessons that we can pull those out. But what I told the committee, and we'll continue to do this next year, is that we've already reviewed this information. We already know what our baseline is. And so no doubt stuff is going to come up. We're going to see things in lessons that we're going to go, wait a minute, we got to look at that. So no doubt there will continue to be things that we look at next year, which is fine. But the work that the committee did so that we could get to this place and feel good about what we're putting in front of kids was invaluable. So thank you, Ms. Miller, and the rest of the committee. Any questions about any of that?
The only thing I would suggest humbly is that as these lessons are pared down because the number of days indicated, that the balance is maintained.
Like in documents is everything.
Yes, and it may not even be a teacher preference, but that you look at it and say, we need to maintain this balance because the Judeo-Christian attitude or precepts do have a foundational part of our history, and to eliminate them completely would be doing as big a disservice as the other way. So I'm just suggesting that as lessons are reduced, that the balance remains.
Yeah, so 2 things. One, the historical stuff that we had, but what we talked about as a group as well was how do we keep whatever baseline we come to and the decisions that we make for all of this, how do we keep that Absolutely. So that it continues past a person or a teacher Correct. Or all that sort of thing. So those are documents that we have as an admin and our instructional coaches so that it's not dependent on a person or a team or a grade level. Okay.
Yeah, it's good. Thank you.
Okay.
So the historical
Yeah, like,
I'm looking at 3rd grade here, and I see like Roman
Okay.
mythology.
Yes.
Well, that's religion, right? And it's not flagged within the Roman Empire, like it's flagged.
so
But-
it's because of, so this part we would look at this or not, but it's whenever it starts getting into, and most of these have biblical text. It's like turn and let's read from Deuteronomy, right? And so that's where that became the problematic issue there. The other stuff that we left, when you read it, it reads historical, right? When you read, and maybe Miller can speak to this a little bit as one of the ones who really review these things. When you read these, it reads Sunday school Bible text.
So for instance, that lesson there, because I had the same question, the lesson on Christianity in the Roman Empire, it might, when Justinian brought the Holy Roman Empire, so that It's really not about the historical rise of that. It's gonna tie to a specific, like we're reading this verse to get to that.
Right.
Okay.
That's where we kind of distinguish, because there are plenty of discussions in all this that's religious. Like, again, you can't talk about the Quakers and the Puritans talking about religion. You just can't. That's who it is, what it is, right? But when you start saying, and again, I don't have the lessons like pulled up in front of me. When you start saying, okay, we're talking about Christianity and the Roman Empire, but we get past the historical knowledge, and now we're trying to get you to believe a certain way based on what we're telling you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, it just, when we all read it, it went beyond the historical knowledge piece.
When you reviewed it, did you find that the stuff that was Christianity was overall positive, like for the religion? Or did it kind of go both ways?
I would think it was overall positive. What did you think? I think so.
I would be very surprised if considering how much work they had to do to review the religious text, if there was things that shed
Negatively.
Christianity.
I mean, when you look at the Holy Roman Empire,
Was very Christianity forward and celebrations kind of vibes, as opposed to, so it was basically placing the goals of the Roman Empire due to their Christianity on a praiseworthy pedestal, and in a light that seems very much like it was trying to sway someone's opinion. Whereas even Rome then and now, and then down where it says Roman mythology and the Roman Republic section spoke to their adoption and their like movement towards a more Christian-based mindset and theology rather than the mythology of the past. But it was very historical. It was just very like black and white facts versus the other, which felt like process. And it was, yeah. Why you should believe this way or why this way is good. We did a lot of work, had a lot of conversations. But it's really great things. I think everybody came together on this really good leadership and really gave it a good look. In a good look, understanding that Rapoport's place is diversity and inclusion, right? And this is what we want to do, is create this environment where all kids feel safe and welcome. So that was really their drive, and I think they did an amazing job. And it's at relatively little impact to really the overall learning of the kiddos. I think, and it maintains that balance. Any other questions?
So I know that they watch and appreciate the work. I appreciate it as well. They brought it up. They said, I heard you ask the question. So I think it is.
Well done. Well done. Okay. So we will move back up. And Vice President, you would be leading the meeting now. Are you okay if I just give suggestions on where we go? Okay, great. Okay.
Yes, I like suggestions.
So our parent rep is not able to be here tonight. I'll make sure she gets the fact. Mr. Nason, did you have anything else you wanted to talk about as a fact rep? Because we kind of moved through years and went to the history wall.
No.
And then we have an update on your faculty incentive committee. There's a document and it's on the agenda here in just a minute as well. You good? Okay, great. And you don't get to go until we have your replacement. So.
And I'll hold my final remarks on that day, even if there is a replacement. I have a few things to say to something. No, I'm kidding. It's positive, generally speaking.
Okay, for committee reports, I know the district is finance or audit.
I don't think we did.
Julie and I met.
Oh, okay, good. Well, I just totally forgot. So that was my thing, yeah. Yeah.
And we chatted about the expenditure items that were on the consent agenda, and we talked about stuff that seemed relevant to this meeting and nothing really to report.
No action items or anything.
No.
And then, facilities.
I see the notes from the ship. We contacted each other through email to see if there were any updates, and there were no major updates, so, things were shared, with us about what's happening from Rapoport on that end and Chick-fil-A as well. Just sharing out the status of what's been ordered, but the question for discussion is the gym dedication flag. So we are, considering what type of plaque, sort of like a multi-purpose center, you would like to place in the entrance or in a prominent place of the gym, and what we would like to say, I guess, about the project, and then those names that would be recognized on it.
Did you get a price for that flag?
A price for the plaque? Oh, a price, we do not have an estimate, but I will put that in my notes.
If it's not an exorbitant amount of money and you need money, I would be glad to buy it.
Well, thank you, and you say.
Don't write that down, no, I'm sorry.
It's on.
It's being recorded. It's being recorded. Yeah.
I'll be connecting with them soon, and we had some chapter, so I'll make sure.
Board members, the question whether or not we put the founder on the plaque with vision type of vaccine.
And we have the plaques from the DCAC has a plaque that's on that one. So there's kind of a standard plus, basically, like, don't forget these people, and then you can attribute.
Is there any update? Bricks, I've had a couple people ask, are those bricks gonna be put down? Are they gonna be delivered to the people?
I
Oh, no, they get-
think they were like, little souvenirs and things
Okay.
that people may have gotten.
All right.
Since then, but the rest should.
So, there's actually a two-step installation process. So to get certificate of occupancy and to do initial, like, get people in the building, our landscapers have partnered with us to come back in. They're gonna put in an R that's designed, and then they're gonna put in some filler bricks for now. And then, the first round of bricks are actually being paid for. They should have gotten the check today, and they're ready to cut them, so they'll get shipped to us. And the way the landscapers are doing it is it'll be an uninstall, install. So we'll be able to just pop it out, put it in as we go along the way, so we can continue to fill that space. We have lots of capacity left to fill. So if you guys have a bunch of yours, or if you want to tell people, they need to go.
There was just a confusion with a couple of the parents that asked, hey, are they bringing us the bricks or what do we do? And I told them, I thought they were putting them down.
The bricks get installed. Yes, the bricks get installed so they can see themselves in the place. Yes. All right. Any other questions or anything on the committees? This summer, for the board members that are here, we will kind of re-up committees. And we will also try to establish a more consistent scheduled public meeting times, because it's been a little hit or miss depending on the committee as we've gone throughout the year. So we'll discuss committees again in July when we do officer elections in July. Okay. Next on that agenda is the superintendent's report. May I go ahead and go on this? Okay, perfect. Just a couple of quick things. We've covered quite a few in agenda items already. Wanted to give a brief update on the gym. So, like Brian said, so the wood floor is going in right now. The rest of the gym is pretty well ready to go and clean. So we almost have our certificate of occupancy. There was one hiccup. The architect in the city had approved an emergency exit that had kind of like you just kind of went into the grass and you could go out to the curb. And that was already approved by the city planning department. But then when they came out for their initial inspection, they said, hey, this won't work. You got to do something different. So we had to go back to the city, back to the architect, recreate, redesign. Now it's got a sidewalk that goes around that now goes out onto a sidewalk. The thing is down to the main sidewalk. And so that was an additional cost we had to do. But we got that all approved. Matter of fact, they're pouring it. The only thing we have left on that is a handrail. So as soon as we get the handrail on that, then the whole rest of the building will be able to have a certificate of occupancy. But that didn't keep us from putting in floors, basketball goals and all sorts of stuff. We've also ordered the rubber mat that's going up in the workout room. That is supposed to be shipped on the 22nd. So that'll go in there. And then we've ordered the other weight room equipment that's going to go in along with the stuff we received from Baylor when they redid their teaching lab. So that's going to be going in. So we're still hoping to be able to start athletic workouts in the building that first week of June. Again, all we're waiting on is handrail to get official CO, at which point we'll be able to go in and out of that building. Velocity is installed. And if you guys saw the trip today, there was a front page article on the trip today to talk about the gym and getting that done. Just so you guys know, Brian and I have talked about it, and we're rolling on about a 3-week lead time for grand opening. So we had hoped to be able to do that third weekend in June. But we want it to be done, painted floors, bleachers in order for us to really do that. And so we'd rather push that off a week. It's not going to necessarily keep us from being able to use the space. We just won't have done an official ribbon cutting yet. So as far for you guys, we're going to run 3 weeks out. So when we look 3 weeks good, we'll reach out to your calendars and we'll reach out to the community and we'll start giving notice and heads up that we're going to have groundbreaking and it'll be a ribbon cutting and it'll be 3 weeks out from that date. So that's kind of our plan. Again, everything is definitely on track to be able to go by July. So we can have volleyball and home games and all that sort of stuff. The bleachers are supposed to be installed. Well, floor is going in right now. Bleachers are supposed to be this week. Or not bleachers, sorry. Basketball goals are supposed to be this end of this week. Bleachers are supposed to come in that first week of June. And then as soon as the bleachers are in, the flooring finish is coming back in and they'll do the paint and the lines and all that sort of stuff. And so that'll be essentially off limits for 2 weeks because we have to seal the doors and let everything cure. And then we'll be able to open it up from that. But in the meantime, locker rooms, lockers, dressing rooms, like all that sort of stuff is going to happen over these next 3 weeks. Hopefully 3.5 weeks, including offices and all that sort of stuff. So we're really excited about being able to move forward on that. It's looking great. If you hadn't had a chance to go by, you can pop in anytime. The doors are open during regular working hours. And then I also have a key, so I can let you guys in as well. So that was really exciting. Bricks, we mentioned it a minute ago. We have not finished filling the brick pavilion. So the plaza is not close to being full. So I would really love your help sharing it out, linking our website, putting it on your social media, anywhere you can think of. We've had several corporate donations of bricks, and I think that's a really great place. So people that want to leave their mark in East Waco, so that everybody that walks in that space will see their name on the courtyard as a supporter of not only Rapoport Academy, but also East Waco and all the activities that we're going to do in that place. So if you need help, if you need flyers, if you need information, if you need me to contact people, just let me know. I'm happy to get out there and do that. But we would really love to be able to fill that patio area with names and supporters and not just blank bricks as we move forward. So,
I spoke with Dorothea Love, but she did not make a decision, so I was sending somebody out there.
but just kind of a thought, now that the building is up, there's a little bit more to pull other people into it. Yeah, it's really going to happen.
I also think when people see the bricks down, and say, oh, those are pretty cool. More people.
We're going to do a little sign at the edge of the patio area. It's like, you can get your name here. Here's the website, right? So there's the great thing with this company is we can initiate production at any time.
Can we sell them at home games?
We can sell them anytime, all the time.
Or have a scanner QR code.
Absolutely.
They can scan and say, you want a brick of euro?
Absolutely.
Buy a brick.
Mm-hmm. So some of the updates that go along with that kind of connect the gym, I guess, and the bricks a little bit together. So the bricks are available online, but we are also going, hopefully, we are going cashless for entry into the gym. Most everybody's running cashless anyway, and money is really dirty. And most of our kids and families can tap and can do a QR code. And so that's our plan, is to move cashless. It increases the level of security and safety for our crews that are there if there's not a lot of cash on site as well.
Yeah.
And then in the concession stand, we're still kind of juggling whether we're going to allow it's all tiny things. It's all Snickers bars and, like Gatorades and that sort of stuff. We're not doing any like hot prepped food. It's not a commercial kitchen. But we're definitely going to have a tap option there. But we would really like to eventually move to cashless there as well. We just don't want to exclude any kiddos or any families that might need to pay with cash that night. And so we're kind of weighing what that might look like. Right now, Brian is working on some plans for the concession stand to be operated either by a soon-to-be newly formed athletic boosters, which is really exciting, and or student clubs for their own fundraiser. And so he's kind of opening up to like what we could do to make sure that that money is really used as fundraisers to help support student activities, whether it's athletics or whether it's other clubs. And so Brian has kind of taken the lead on that, working with Tyler on what that's going to look like in the concession stand.
So in that concession stand, there's not going to be hot food at all served right now?
Right now, there's not. It doesn't mean that it's got the makings where we can. So right now, it's like microwave for popcorn and things like that. Nachos can still be included in that. But as far as making hamburger patties or rolling hot dogs or things like that, I don't think we're set up yet with the Booster Club for food managers and food handlers and all of that stuff. What we need.
Yeah.
It's got the bones for it. So we can always add that down the road. But there's a lot of things that come with that if you're going to do hot food and food prep.
We thought of maybe trying to go into a partnership with the barbecue places, right?
So Blake has offered anytime we want to, he'll give us like at cost, he'll give us trays of barbecue for that. So we can prep and we can serve that. The issue that comes in, then you have to have hold warmers, you have to maintain food temps, you have to have food handlers cards. So he's very ready to partner in with us. And so, I mean, that would be great. We just have to have a group that's ready to handle that hot food. So right now we figured we would start with, we have our own concession stand, right?
Yeah.
And we've got all the roosters that are gonna run that. So let's just let you. So anyway, we're really excited about that. The other couple of things, I guess I'll do it on the hiring update because it's really related to hiring. So I'll keep it on that. So thank you very much for the opportunity to do that. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd say I'd like to do that.
Yes, we absolutely can. I'll grab it. Sit on my desk and it's privileged. But yes, I will grab it and we can go over after this. That sounds easy. Okay, so technology update. Chris Brownlee. So you may not have had the opportunity to meet Chris Brownlee. So we are transitioning over the next couple of months, really probably sooner, like in June. So Dean Elliott has been our director of IT for over a decade. And he's been able to bring us from a place that had about 60% uptime and very few functioning computers, definitely not student one-on-ones, all the way to where we are today, post-COVID and everything else. And so Dean, 2 years ago, kind of came up with this plan for a 2-year transition plan where he hired in an assistant and trained him and worked with him over 2 years and then was able to retire out and really create kind of a smooth transition where we were able to bring someone in, hire them in, train them up, and then here they are. So Chris is who we hired in, and he has jumped in and done an amazing job with lots and lots of accolades across the district. And so this will be his first technology update for you guys. But as we move forward, really from here forward, anything you need IT related for Rapoport Academy, Chris is going to be the one to help us out with that. We've hired his replacement, who will start coming up. I don't want to steal your thunder, so you might talk about that. But with that, I'd like to introduce and welcome Chris Brown.
So technology updates, so you can go to the next slide. So one main goal is collaboration, security with students, with all the new state laws that we have, things like that. So a lot of my agendas and good work is how can we make things safe for students and also provide good technology. And so one of my updates on deployments also is trying to figure out the best way to budget things. So we partnered with this company, IFS, for a lease. And so we're able to, what my goal is to take Chromebooks and MacArthur, move those from that. Yeah, we
So Chris is new and working on learning how to toot his own horn a little bit, so I'll help him out just a little bit. We talked about this Chromebook deployment, the IFS leasing contract. So you guys approved that at the board meeting, but to just kind of pull that in a little bit, what he recognized is in looking at budget forecasting, we were going to be going big expense, no expense, big expense, no expense. All the computers updated, no updated, because we did this big deployment with COVID, right? And so he was able to come back and say, hold on just a minute. If we move these devices here and these here, we can create a logical rollover program. And if we partner in with a company like this, we have less initial expense and a consistent expenditure each year as we go forward. And we always have the devices we need, where we need them, with a logical plan for structure and changeover. And then with this same company at the end of life, we can actually choose to purchase them and keep them if we want them 2 more years for a nominal fee for each device.
So like by the time you get this thing off, it'll be 29, and the one for 250 at Parker is 23. We're still the same.
Yes, and it doesn't cost us anymore to hold those. So decreasing the overall cost, increasing the student impact, right? Meaning the quality devices that are good and during their life cycle, and also creating a more consistent, stable expenditure stream, right? All the ways we go through that. So like that's on the Chromebook technology side, meaning very consistent moving forward. On the security side, what he's looking at is, do we have coverage in a variety of ways to ensure that our staff and students are safe? It's everything from what does our camera coverage look like? Meaning taking a map and looking at the camera view and shading where the camera actually covers and where do we have gaps and holes. Recognizing in the gym, hey, we don't have any coverage on this one cover of the gym at all based on the drawings that we currently have. How can we make that happen? Oh, let me negotiate with the contractors and see if we can't reduce some costs here and increase this extra one so that we really have coverage all the way around. Oh, also, if we use the safety grant money, which is an eligible expense, we could do phase 1 and phase 2 right now and not have to be without coverage in a highly risky building, right? So all that is going to be able to be done, and you guys have approved that, like being very consistent of that. Then it also goes to other little things like, it's really hard for staff sometimes to find links and to report things where they need to report and do whatever they need to do. And so I can show you on my own. So Chris created this RAPS Bookmarks. It's on every internet screen that you get on in the district. You open up your browser and it's there. You click on the top left and it's got the teacher hubs on there. It's got how to do a tech ticket. It's got how to do a facilities work order. It's got how to do a field trip. It's got Parent Square, which is our messaging device. And it's just one place. And now teachers don't have to remember, or staff don't have to remember all the different things. It's right there in the top left-hand side. so they can find it. So it's little things like that, that's like that forward thinking. Because he's not having to build it from scratch, he's able to take what we have and then build it forward from that one. And then we hired a replacement. You want to talk a little bit about?
Nick Moyer is coming from Base State.
He'll come in a little bit before July, but then he'll be here really mid-July, kind of moving forward. And so we're already doing device turn-ins for this year. They're already have a re-imaging plan for the summer and a rollout plan for the fall. So lots of really good things, lots of fun and exciting things, but I'm excited to introduce Chris Brownlee to you guys. And then if you have any questions,
I'd like to commend him. Honestly, he's been an excellent addition. The best thing about Chris is that if you ask him a question, within minutes, you'll receive an answer, and he's on it. And his job, which is monitoring and maintaining a lot of different buildings and spaces, that's difficult to do, and we really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
That's about as nice as I'll do.
There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Wish you all the best, Chris.
Now that you've been able to pop back in, when we were talking about strategic planning, I think you wanted to mention a little bit about superintendent evaluation tool and kind of some homework that goes in with strategic planning, because I'm part of your strategic plan.
Right.
Superintendent,
So if you have not had a chance to look at the tool, it's really simple right now. Give me some feedback and some notes based on our April meeting. The idea is that we get a tool in place at the beginning of this next year. So that is your homework, and you can leave edits right in that Google comment or in the Google Doc, and so that we can approve it. And it's not really a voting item, but kind of consecrate it come to an agreement. If there's any open things, like I know that we may need to talk about a few things. If you have questions or considerations, we'll put that on the June agenda, but we want to lock that down in June.
so ideally, the superintendent is operating underneath an evaluation tool that has been established prior to the year in which they've been evaluated.
That's the idea.
That's kind of best practice. So you should really have that locked in. I mean, TEA doesn't do that. We take the test and then they tell us how we're evaluated. But yes, that would be great. So by June. Okay. The last two things on the agenda is the faculty representative report and then the hiring updates. And so I called it the faculty representative report because I know it was incentive, but it wasn't really all incentives. And so I just call it the representative report. But in your drive is a document, and I will pull it up here. Okay, I'm going to pull it up here in front of you. So what Jennifer and Tyler and I have talked about this, and we met with Mr. Nason, and we went through that whole report, and then we kind of summarized it and categorized it. We couldn't catch all of the details in it because there were so many things and suggestions and ideas and points to kind of look at. So we kind of narrowed it down to just a few that we felt like really encompassed a lot of what the concerns and the positive things were. So the black squares that you see there are the feedback that we already got, right? So that is what came from Chris's report. It's either summarized or paraphrased or verbatim. So clarity of expectations, some ideas of things that we could do, like what is thought and how is it used. So then what I did is in each category, I went through and put together a couple of things that we are doing or have planned to do. And then Tyler and Jennifer kind of looked through those and reviewed them, gave edits. What I was wanting to make sure is that the stuff that is already in the works or that we took immediately and took action on, that there was something that Chris was able to say and look, right? Like this is happening, this is actionable now. We cannot get to everything possibly all the times. And some stuff is, we're gonna need some help with it, right? And I think that was okay. I think that was really also part of what the message was about is some of it's just help people get it done. So in this communication piece, so a couple of the things, so superintendent principals, we have district-wide and campus-wide newsletter schedules. SJ Menifee is managing the district newsletter, and she's going to ensure when we do surveys and feedback requests that those results come into the newsletter as we go back. That was one of the feedback we got is, yes, communication has gotten better, but what happens when you ask for opinion? Like, where does that go? And so that's something that she's committed to is putting in those survey results, putting in the question results back into that newsletter to make sure that they get back out. Faculty and staff meetings are included in the P2C overhaul review. Thank you very much for supporting the TSL year 3. That'll be a lot of work that we have moving forward is underneath Tyler's leadership for that district-wide initiative. And with that, we're looking at content, where they are, what's being housed in those, what can be done in an email versus what's being done in that. How do we make sure that if we have them, when we have them, and that they're meaningful? One of the things is that it felt like faculty meetings were often, and when we looked back at it, most months there was 2 or maybe 3 meetings because there was a holiday or there were shifts or there were changes or it was a week that was off anyway. And so really just trying to evaluate that again, that's part of that P2C work is what does staff development as a whole look like? Fall PD, professional development days, protected teacher days, staff meetings, all that is underneath that umbrella in that year 3 TSL work and support. The district campus will continue to review job positions and postings to ensure that clear accountability metrics are included in annual performance reviews. So one of the things that we recognize through the TSL work when we looked at onboarding is that we did not have clear job descriptions with accountability metrics for all positions in the district, whether it's teacher, TA, principal, whatever. And so over this last year, we've been working on making sure that all jobs have job descriptions. We've been making sure that everybody has an evaluation. This spring, we implemented a new evaluation tool that's reflective based. And so we've got feedback from the people that filled it out and also from the supervisors. So we'll continue to tweak that moving forward. But just making sure that every position has accountability metrics built in with a cadence of meetings, a cadence of tracking what that looks like. So it came first with job description, then evaluation based on job description, which will build into goals and individual metrics, kind of as we press forward from that. So I'm really excited about not only the work we've already done, but kind of what's coming up in the next year. And then I'm going to make sure one of the big things was like vision, values, strategic plan, core values. Like we need to hear and see more of that. So when we plan for August PD, and then as we work through P2C, even throughout the year, making sure that we're not just flipping up a slide on the screen and we're done, making sure that everything we do is really tied back into why are we doing it and how does it feed back in to the mission, vision, values of the district. And that includes core values, right? So that everything is relatable and makes sense so that nothing feels like it's just an odd thing stuck out here in the wind and it's not really aligned with the work that we need to be here to do. So that's that first category. Safety procedures and protocols, that was another big category of kind of feedback. Again, the solid dots are either paraphrasing or verbatim from the presentation. So I'm gonna kind of move through those just a little bit and I'm gonna get down to kind of the 4 dots in the safety. So as new initiatives, requirements are created by TA School Safety Center, they're adopted by Rapoport Academy. We just recently had an audit of safety policies and facilities. That was last week. Region 12 did that audit for us. They're going to provide us a report. It'll be here at June. So in a closed session at the June board meeting, we'll talk about their findings that came back. It was overwhelmingly positive. There were some places where we could definitely do better. And there were some places where they've got new guidelines and we didn't necessarily have the guidelines yet, or I missed them. And so it's things like what sign should be posted on a door. Nothing that was really about safety. or security or major facilities things. So you'll get that report in June. Again, it'll be in closed session, obviously, because there could be sensitive information in that report. We don't want that out to the bad people to see where we might have weak areas. We have a new director of safety and facilities that we have hired. So we had a small committee. We went through job postings and we interviewed, and we have selected a new director of safety and facilities. He's actually a longtime Rapoport parent, a longtime Rapoport spouse, and a current Rapoport employee. So Chad Rumsey is his name.
We love Mr. Ryan.
Yeah. So, Mr. Rumsey, I try not to steal my own thunder. So, Mr. Rumsey is our new director of safety and facilities. He comes to us with 6 years in the Marines as a mechanic, in charge of safety and other initiatives. He was at SpaceX for a period of time. He's owned his own construction company. He's been in waterproofing and weather resistance up in the Metroplex area and in charge of a large crew of people. So he has leadership background. He has policy, structure, like military, like that kind of mentality. I mean, he and I actually had a long meeting today and went through some of the first like initial facilities and safety sort of stuff. I think he's going to be a great addition to the team with a very get it done specific and tracking mindset. So accountability, tracking, documenting, pre-planning work. So being proactive with facilities management is really one of the areas that he brought up in the interview. So I'm really excited about bringing him on. He's going to do some summer school teaching still for the month of June in the mornings. And then in the afternoons, he's doing facility, but he's already taken the phone for facilities and run with it. He's already on the ticketing system for that. Mr. Brownlee helped us create a new ticketing system that falls in line with the IT so that when someone puts in a ticket, it automatically gives them a confirmation that they've received the ticket. And then anytime someone updates the ticket, like if I go in and say the part's been ordered, it'll be installed next Thursday, it automatically sends the submitter an email update for that. And then we have multiple people that can see and track how long this ticket's been open. What has the response time been like? What does that look like? So we'll have some metrics we can start to track in on that. So I'm really excited about what we've got coming up with safety and facilities on that. District admin will communicate with campus admin when they're off district. So this has already been put in place. And so what we're working on is clear communication for coverage. We're not all going to be on campus all the time. And so what we're trying to make sure of is the people who would need to report something know if that person is not going to be there. And if they're not going to be there, who's going to report. So Tyler has already sent, or his staff has already sent, hey, I'll be off campus this day. If you need something, contact this person or contact that person, even with a reminder that morning. Hey, remember, I'm off this date. Here's your person. And so that's just a practice that really came from, hey, we need a little bit of clarity and feedback. And so I'm doing the same with my superintendent's cabinet. If I happen to be off where I'm unavailable or where I'm not reachable, then I'm sending a message back to them so that they know who to contact. And then we're kind of echoing that back from that. So that's kind of direct feedback and action that we've done from that. And then behavior support training for elementary, secondary, mentor and mentee programs, restorative practice training and implementation. It's all part of the P2C overhaul. Those are all initiatives that are in our fall professional development or in our development throughout the year. And that'll be addressed in the strands of learning that Tyler's working on with the P2C overhaul. Then community environment. So there was a long list of kind of individual things that kind of lumped in with community and or environment. And so there's, you can see just a handful of other open squares. So during the budgeting process, I have made sure for the board that these things are on your budget reminder. So if when we looked at that revenue expense salary budget, the insurance was in there, the new staff position for a grant writer was in there. So you guys are reviewing that information as you're looking at the budgeting process. That will still be in there when you're looking at the itemized budget review so that the board can make those decisions if they choose to go whichever direction. It includes personal leave days or retention stipends, salary increases will all be in that. And so I've made sure that those things that were brought up are in the consideration for the board. Sunshine committees are similar for each campus. We want to give them the opportunity to jump in on some of these items. That seems to be the best place to do, whether it's incentives or whether it's sprucing up staff lounges. I think, Jennifer, you already sent out an email about that. So whatever that looks like, we want to make sure that those faculty committees, the sunshine committees, they do birthdays, they do celebrations, they do whatever, that they have the ability, the capacity to listen to the faculty on that campus and respond to what they need for that. And so what'll happen is those committees will then come back to Tyler and Jennifer or to the dean of students and say, hey, we want to do X. Help us fund it, help us figure this out, help us fundraise, whatever that looks like. And so there's kind of a list of things, attendance award, lunch duty, coverages, or special event days, or things like that. So that would really be campus specific for what those campus people feel like is going to be most helpful for them. We're looking at campus budgets to include some club budget money as funds become available with a focus on seed money. And so that'll just be as we move through, whether the state comes back with funding, what that looks like in the itemized budgets. That'll just be kind of on as needed, but it was definitely something that we were all like, oh, that's a pretty good idea. I think some of that also comes in Brian Foreman's thought on, hey, if it's not just an athletic booster club that's running the concession stand, maybe these clubs and organizations can use it as a fundraising opportunity as well. So maybe half the proceeds go to the club and half go back to athletics for the night or whatever. So he's working on that. I'm excited about what that could look like. Again, I've talked about the PSC overhaul initiative. It includes all of these things, fall PD, development days, other trainings like staff meetings. As a part of the TSL year 3, you will be provided updates on those initiatives throughout the year as you already have. So we will be bringing those to you each quarter as we talk through the TSL work, those 6 big initiatives in the academic strategic plan. So you'll see updates as we go throughout that. It's roughly an additional 3-year implementation, design implementation. So it's not a 1 year and it's fixed. It's what do we do next year, the year after, and the year after. Like I said, new facilities director has been hired. One of the first things we're doing in his role as he steps in, we discussed it today, is the summer evaluation and facilities update. So evaluation meaning walking through all the buildings, looking at the report provided from the audit, and really coming up with not only reactive, like what has to happen now, but proactive plans for facilities moving forward. But you guys approved in your consent agenda, you saw the narrative and you approved it. Thank you for that. So this summer, we are planning on team-based updates for every building in the district. So we're working on a schedule for what that looks like. What we're going to have is custodians, any food service folks that want to jump in, all of our maintenance team. We're going to create a schedule over the summer that'll be building by building. And the team will essentially descend upon a building and then cover like a checklist kind of as we walk through that building. Each custodian is going to take leadership over their building and kind of manage the team while they're there and really lead for what do I need in this space. It does include SJ's working on a graphic design that'll be like a vinyl wrap sticker or whatever that'll be in the lobby of every lobby. Every lobby will have a similar feel right when you walk in. We're also going to shift to a consistent color as we move through the lobby and the main hallways across the district. That is going to be like a light gray. So in the gym, we've got a dark athletic gray. This one's going to be a light gray. Most places will be replacing a yellow. Some it might be blue, but most places it's going to be replacing that yellow that's in the lobby and the main hallways. Eventually we'll move to other places in the building, but right now what we're looking at is deep clean, lobby branding, gray in the main entries and hallways. And then what other beautification things do we need? Are we power washing sidewalks? Are we making sure outside of windows are power washing clean? Are we touching up doors and paint? Are we meeting the compliance requirements of door signage and that sort of stuff? And so that's going to happen kind of throughout the district in the summer, scheduled as we go along around what summer school is doing and around when we have state testing and all that sort of stuff. But I'm really excited. Chad's really excited to lead that and to kind of get moving. He's ready to get moving in the time that he has. So I think that's going to be really neat. Then on the last part, there was like 3 that were kind of like odds and ends. They didn't necessarily fit in one of those big categories up there. So a grant writing position is included in the budget considerations for the board. That would be a board decision on that one. I have done a lot of research on that one. And it has been well established that the board needs to fund that position from regular operating without a requirement to fund the position from grant writing. Because you commit to the position, anything they bring in is a bonus. And so that's just something that the board will consider, but it's in your considerations for positions, of course, depending on what happens with state funding. And then the other one is, you guys have talked about considering an education foundation. The second part of this is I recognize that it's more of my opinion than a fact. Maintaining an independent organization with unique bylaws, separate meetings, a unique governance structure, I think would be very difficult and would be very hard for me to manage amongst all the other things we have. I still will make sure that it's before the board. And if the board says, yes, we want to do this, I will find a way to make it happen with the board's help and support. But it is a totally independent organization with a separate board, separate bylaws, separate meetings, and separate activities. So I'll make sure that it's still up for the board's consideration as we move forward from that. That was on there. So that was kind of first attempt at what are all the things, what do we already have, what's coming up, what can we take action on right now? There are other things on here that we are not able to meet, right, necessarily at this time. Maybe it's on a safety, maybe it's on a sunshine committee or things like that. But I wanted to make sure that you, faculty rep, were able to give some concrete, like these are things that are happening. Some of it was already in the works and we just received confirmation that we're doing the right thing. And some of it is new. And so I appreciated the feedback from that. And like I said, Tyler, Jennifer, and I jumped on some of the things already, and some of them we just needed to communicate better about. There you go.
It was all really good.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I think it's a great start. So thank you. Look, can you publish these?
Sure.
With the notes that you're sending out, like when you do that little update, can you put this as part of the update?
Yeah, just the whole document.
Yeah,
You bet.
I
yeah.
think they'd be interested.
Yeah, I'll just attach this document to the update.
The black ones are done.
No, the black ones are what came from the presentation.
Oh, what are the white ones?
The open ones are our comments about it, action items, things we've done, what we plan to do, kind of where we are.
The only thing, two observations, and I'm done. I know, shocking. The first one is, when we're talking about using core values, mission statement and stuff, I really think those things should be placed in every classroom. I think we should have the mission statement framed, and even, I know it's gonna be more.
It's in SJ's branding.
But it is, but I'm talking about in every classroom,
Every
we should have the
room.
mission, we
Yeah.
should have the vision, we should have the core values.
Yeah, so hers is in every bathroom, every faculty lounge, every classroom, every hallway, every entry.
Good,
So
good.
you're right on track.
And,
That's hers.
and then the core values, I know we talked about it, we talked about the inconsistency with restorative practices, et cetera. And I'm sure that's gonna be built into P2C more. But if we're gonna use them, I honestly think we need to look at the possibility of, like with our behavior matrices and these restorative practices, building in where these words, these 6 words, our core values, are used within these systems as shared lexicon of vocabulary that we use every day. So that when we talk to a student, even restorative discipline, you could say, okay, what might you do in this situation again that would make you a more responsible student? Start utilizing that terminology so that becomes a live item from K all the way through 12 and through our discipline process all the way through. That would be my big suggestion.
Thank you. I feel like this directly responds to the board's request from last month, which is to speak to that committee's recommendations, and this does that, in my opinion.
Yeah, no.
Thank you.
And I'll definitely, when I do the update here in a little bit, I'll attach that with it, just send it out.
That's great.
Yeah.
And thank you for the administrators too. I know y'all worked
Yes.
on that as well, but
There's a lot,
thank you
yeah.
for listening. It's a good start.
Yeah, it is. No,
I'm excited.
just,
And I think it was good to be able to take all that feedback and go, okay, what do we already have? What can we confirm, right? We're on the right track. And then what can we strengthen? And then also, what places do we just need to say, that'd be great. Who can help get it done? Right? Because they can't do everything, all those things. But there are things where we can just say, okay, that's great. Who wants to take that? You know, and as long as we're supporting that person, then those other things can get it done, because it takes a village. And we have to recognize that everybody has a hand in that, you know? So,
on those, the last 2 items, what you were talking about, the grant writing position and the
and
education thing, yeah. Do you have like a ETA on when that would be presented to the board with a thing to review or look at, or?
So
like
I
that,
hope that-
or-
so
Or
there's-
is that
Yeah, there's two parts to that. So one, it's already on your, when we looked at revenue expense salary budget,
Mhm.
it was on that list of considerations to look at.
Oh, okay.
Now, the Education Foundation wasn't
Yeah.
on that, because there's not a direct cost at this point.
Yeah.
But the grant position was on that one. And so, when we considered that one revenue expense salary, and everybody was like, well, we're literally net zero right now. Like, we have no money added, so we didn't move on that one at that point.
Mhm.
Now, depending on what happens with the state and what it looks like, with a $55 increase to the basic allotment, it brings the district in about $44,000. $44,000 as a district is what a net adjustment to the basic allotment of $55 brings in. That doesn't give much. And a majority of that is going to be required to be allocated towards teacher salaries, which is great. So if they say 60% towards teacher salaries, that doesn't give 88 teachers very much at all. And so when we actually get funding back from the state, the board is going to have to really sit down and look at, we're going to do some education for what it looks like. Because there are going to be other things like increase in the safety allotment. There's going to be increase in facilities funding that might offset some funds, that could open some funds up. So we're going to have to really evaluate what that looks like. So at that point, when we consider expenses, all of those things that are already on that table would still be on the table for you to consider. So
Yeah.
I think that's the point where I will make sure that all of that is still on the table. Because yes, I have opinions about it, but I want the board to review those and the board to consider that. Whatever the board decides, I'll make happen, right? But I will make sure that those are still on there. So at the next point when we're able to consider any added revenue, because right now we've got itemized budgets that we're bringing to you guys in June, and it's based on current funding, not new funding. And so we're bringing you basically a flat budget that says we've moved some things around, but it's no added money. Like, this is what we need in order to just basically eke by. And that's what you'll get in June. I doubt that we will be ready in June with legislative action with an actual estimate for what that impact is going to be here at Rapoport Academy. As a charter school, I still can't get direct answers for how those two different bills are going to impact what it means here at the end of the day. Plus, who knows when everything's actually already approved, what that's going to look like. So anyway, all that was a long answer to say.
That's good.
When we do itemized budgets, it'll still be on there as consideration.
Got it.
When we get new revenue, I'll make sure it's on there for consideration so that the board reviews those and makes a holistic decision based on what the opportunities are.
Got it. Okay.
I recommend that if we are in a place that we have funding to review, that the finance committee is the ones that we do the legwork to investigate whether that.
Yeah.
It seems like a good use of that.
No, I agree.
Yeah, I 100% echo that, because going through what's going to have to be gone through at a deep enough level would take hours at a board meeting. As opposed to, we've gone through this and here's kind of where we feel comfortable. And I think it'd be great.
Yep.
I think it'd be great.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, the last one that I have, the last agenda item that I have on here is hiring updates. I kind of talked a little bit about them already. So we have, I'm going to ask Tyler and Jennifer here in a minute to give you kind of an update on their campuses. But we have a new director of facilities that we've hired. We have a retiring IT director. We have Chris Bradley, who's going to step into that. His role, we've already filled in for the role that he had from that one. We've also been able to make a few other shifts and movement with some folks in the campus and district as we moved around. We still have several openings. They're posted online. So if you know somebody that wants to join the Rapoport team, please connect in with them and tell them to come. Jennifer, what do you still have open? And then Tyler, I'll ask you.
I have an art technology position open, but I sent a recommendation to hire today, so.
Great.
You want, that'd be great.
Yeah.
You're hired. And then, and then we would have been full, except Alexis hired one of our TAs as the new director of facilities and maintenance, so. Something else. For him, but that means we gotta hire another position, so we've got a teaching assistant position role that's open.
And a potential offer for the other.
Correct.
Yes.
So that, we've already hired, all of our classroom teacher positions.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the hiring season was, fruitful. It was probably one of the most fruitful, at least in my opinion, one of the most fruitful seasons we've had since COVID. I feel like every year it's gotten a smidge better. And we'll get more candidates. We had multiple interviews with people from Baylor, which just doesn't often happen for us. So that was great. Of the one candidate that Tyler and I were vying for, I lost out. She went to secondary, but anyway, I'm full with, if I can hire as our technology person with teachers and then one TA, and hopefully nobody else surprises me later. Okay.
All right, Ted.
I'm proud of the work my team has done. We're not quite at the same place that Ms. Whitlock just shared, but we have hired 10 staff, which is great. It's a lot of work, and if you ever sit on hiring committees, just know that 10 hires represents hours and hours and hours and hours of time on top of the just regular work that we're already doing. We do still have 7 vacancies, so
Of all sorts.
similar to what Ms. Whitlock shared, one thing solves one situation and it causes another opening. So we've had some of that where we've shifted people from teaching assistant roles into teacher roles, which is great. And then we rehire the teacher assistant role. At the last board meeting, in the big budget approval, we had given up 2 positions at secondary, but added a new position of an office manager who's going to help us with some logistics with the new gym opening. And a lot of things our administrative team does at secondary with transportation and career technical education things. There's just a lot that we manage logistically every day. We don't run buses at Rapoport, for transportation to school, but we run buses at secondary every day to our work-based learning site, to colleges. So it's actually quite a massive undertaking every day to get all these routes run of all these kids. And thus far, we've been doing it with our administrative team. One of the reasons that I'm thankful for the list of things that we talked through earlier, but that I worry about being able to accomplish because we're doing a lot of those logistics. So this office manager is going to help step in and do that as we rent out the gym facility and do a lot of contract work with other schools and have tournaments. We just need some help. So Jessica Mata, who's at our front desk, is stepping into that role, but that opens our front desk. So those are some of our shifts. We have had a couple of last minute surprises of people who've taken positions some other places, and that is going to happen probably for the next month or so as we head into the year. But we have 7 openings right now. 1, 2, 3, 5 of those are classroom positions, and then 1 is an administrative role, and the other is the administrative assistant. So actively seeking, I hope to have 2 of those filled before the end of the week. We've done some other interviews and hope to get some offers out and some offers accepted. So hopefully before we leave for the end of this school year, we'll have 5 that we're looking for. We desperately need a high school chemistry teacher. So if you happen to know someone who's working in high school science, pass their number on to me and let me call them. The job is posted and they wanted it, they would have already applied, but I can change people's minds. So I'd love the opportunity to talk to someone about that role. It's been vacant this whole year, and we don't have any viable candidate for this time. So I'm wanting to be sure that we don't have another vacancy for that role.
And we would love well-experienced, high-quality classroom teachers who've been doing it a while, but industry experts and people who have a passion for kids, we do really good. We can teach people a lot of things, but we need somebody who knows science.
The state continues to provide more flexibility for us to do with rehires, people who are retired and are currently earning retirement through the teacher retirement system. They've lowered some of the constraints that made that more challenging and reduced the fees and all those kinds of things to try to make it more doable. So that's another appealing route. Maybe somebody who's retired from, we may be able to do it at a part-time basis. That's not our goal, but we're trying to figure out how we get it started. So anyway, lots of positive to celebrate there. Like I said, 10 hires is a lot of work and a lot of positions, and we really feel confident about the people that we brought on board. And Ms. Whitlock already shared that we had one that we both interviewed, she's going to come on board in our middle school team, and she just won the Pre-Service Educator of the Year award at Baylor University.
Wow.
So excited to not just bring on it, we're also bringing on a TIA designated teacher who's already designated in another district who will come here and be designated in our system. So there's great people, coming aboard, but we still have some work to do, so.
I just want to share too, since we're in the business of sharing, that I'm also sending a beloved teacher to secondary to teach next year and 2 staff members to the district. So I'd like to just note that I think elementary hires people that we send on to other places that then we have to.
So their success is based.
When I say you're a really good dog.
Phone call is accept more people to call.
Thank y'all so much.
Yeah.
Not lost on us.
Yeah.
Did you already talk about the faculty representatives to the board? Any candidates?
I did not talk about faculty representative for the board, but no, that's a great one. I'll talk about faculty and parent. I'll both sit right there. So we do have a parent representative for the board. I'm really excited. We had 4 people that threw their names in the hat, and then we talked about like meetings and what that takes, and 2 people said, okay, never mind. But then we had 2 people who were like, yes, I still want to be a part of it. So we literally put both names in a hat and pulled one out. And Tyler, I'm gonna probably say her first name, Inari Olivera. Inari Olivera. So she is going to be our new parent representative. So we're really excited to have her on board. I think she is going to be great, dynamic. Spanish is her first language. And so I think she represents a really good, different voice than what we have on the board. Very dedicated parent. She came to our district-wide needs assessment day and just had such great insight to give. So I'm really excited about her coming on board. And then Chris Nathan is actually going to continue on as our faculty rep until we have a replacement faculty rep. And so Jennifer and I are knocking on doors, asking those elementary teachers if they will jump in. You have to have been in for longer than a year. So you have to have been in this whole year in order to be eligible to be the faculty rep. And so we're going to keep asking. We have a couple of people who are considering it, and they just haven't locked in.
So
yet.
you're not getting rid of me yet.
Right.
You
No.
thought you were.
I mean, possibly if I do, but we'll see. So we're trying to kind of help them get all the information they need in order to do it, especially next year. There's strategic planning no matter what, and it's going to be a really pivotal role to kind of make sure that we have that voice kind of represented in those meetings. So I do not yet have someone who's locked in, but I have 2 people who are considering.
Thank you for being willing to bridge the gap, Mr.
Yeah.
Nason.
I agree too, but that's fine. Yeah, there you go. I hope not.
You can reach. Wonderful. We're excited about that. Hey, I do just want to remind you guys, we have graduation on Fridays at 6 o'clock. Oh, good. You're gonna be there. So
I'll be there.
perfect. Thank you very
Yes.
much. I will be there because my kid's graduating, and I'll be up on the stage. Emily will be there. Yep.
Good.
So if you can be there and you want to jump in up on stage, just be sure you let me know, so that I can make sure and put you up on stage. We are going to do, the regular recognition of the graduates, and then we have an honorary diploma, that we are going to be giving that night. So we're really excited about that. If you want to know more details, you can stop and ask me afterwards. And I'll share that information with you guys, but it's going to be a really cool night. We have 47 graduates that are walking across that stage. So we'll still be able to do all of that, probably about an hour and 5 minutes. So we'll be in and out pretty quick, but it's at the Waco Convention Center at 6 o'clock.
The senior class versus that individual.
There's a lasting recognition. Yeah, a lasting recognition on that one.
What time do we need to be there?
I need you there before 5:30.
Okay.
So 5:30 is kind of your cutoff time if you want to line up and walk in with us.
Got it.
Yep. So 5:30, and it is just business. Like it's not, you don't have to wear like pomp and circumstance or any of that sort of stuff. So just come on and be ready to go and be ready to celebrate with our graduates as they walk across the stage. I've got waterproof mascara that I bought, so I'm good to go. It's a lot of fun today when they did their senior ball. So that's just a reminder. That's all I have for you today.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
You.
That's 2. All those in favor?
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you all so much. Thank you, leadership.
Be the gym.
Oh.
Yeah.